Welcome to Southwest Yard and Garden. I'm John White. Today we're going to be talking about some shrubs that are in bloom in the Las Cruces area and southern New Mexico. We have some shrubs here that are kind of a little bit rarer, maybe older varieties that have been around. This one is Weigela. It's a nice red one. Weigela will get up somewhere around 6 feet tall, maybe 8 feet tall. They're usually found in more protected areas, and these plants, during the heat of the summer, you might see a little bit more burn on them, so they really like to be in more of a protected area. So this is one that you might see again in a protected area, or if you're going to plant one, you want to plant in a little bit more of a protected area. Next we have a Spirea, and this is full of bloom right now. We see them in different areas of the town, again usually in some of the older homes, but we can find them in the nursery trade. They're in bloom right now, and again this is a plant that looks its best here during the spring, and then as we go into the heat of the summer we may see a little bit more leaf burn on it. It does need to be watered a little bit more often, but it is a plant that'll give you some different color here at this time of year. And then another plant that we have is a Viburnum, and this is a snowball bush is another name for it. It has these nice round clusters of bloom on them. These are, again, a plant that's kind of rare in the southern part of the state because it does suffer a lot during the heat. So again, this will be one that's in a protected area. But you do see them listed sometimes in some of the garden books, and so this is snowball bush Viburnum, and a nice plant to use in some of the areas. Other plants for the area that are in bloom right now, here's an upright rosemary. We do have some of the prostrate forms of rosemary that cascade down. This is an upright one. You can see they're going into bloom. They'll be in bloom almost all summer. They have that beautiful smell to them, and so they're quite fragrant. Again, evergreen. The flowers can be attractive to bees, so if you have an allergy to bees, you may not want to put this too close to walkways and the entrance to the home, but this is an excellent plant. It does very well in the dry part of the southern part of the state. Another shrub we have that's in bloom right now, and will be in bloom for probably another 3 to 4 weeks, is the Indian hawthorn. And the Indian hawthorn, Rhaphileptus, there's several different varieties out, so you can have some dwarf varieties on up to some fuller size, so you can look at plants anywhere from 2 to maybe 4 to 5 feet tall. So again, has a pretty pink bloom on it, and as this bloom is pollinated, the flowers are pollinated, they will have some little kind of purple or dark blue berries on it. So, but it is evergreen, so both these plants are evergreen. One of our more arid land plants that are sold in the nursery trade, this one's called Cassia Pneumophila. It's a cassia, and it's usually a winter bloomer, so we see it in bloom in the southern part of the state and here in January, February, March, and then as we go into the heat of the summer, it's going to lose a lot of its bloom, and it's just going to have more of this real fine foliage on it. But this is a plant that does not require a lot of water, so you kind of want to use this in some of our more xeric landscapes. But again, a plant that will give you some added color at this time of year. It's a little different than some of our other plants. And then our kind of old standby shrub here is called firethorn or pyracantha. And pyracanthas, there are a lot of different varieties of pyracantha out, so you want to do a little bit of investigation on some of the different varieties to kind of pick the one that's really going to fit your situation. A lot of people like to take the pyracantha and espalier it against a wall, so it kind of covers a form or a shape that they might want on the wall. It works very well for that situation. It requires a lot of maintenance and a lot of labor to keep the pyracantha trained against a trellis system. You got to keep it constantly pruned and keep the new young growth bent in the direction that you want. One of the problems we see when people have been doing the espalier work on pyracantha is that you want to make sure that you do not tie those up real tight with a wire type binding. So either if they're put on a trellis, use the green tape so that it'll give a little as the plant begins to grow, or if you do use the wires, you want to make sure to loosen them. One of the big problems that we have on pyracanthus is that it is notorious for having fire blight, which is a bacteria, and the fire blight enters a lot of times when the plant is in bloom. So we'd like to try and either put an antibiotic spray on when the pyracanthus is in bloom, so that will help to keep some of the fire blight problems down. But pyracanthus is a fairly drought tolerant plant, so it's one that's good for landscapes. It's been used in landscapes for a long time. It does have the little spines on it, so it does help to keep unwanted visitors out of the yard, so it can work for that purpose also. So again, these are some shrubs that are in bloom here in the southern part of the state.